Have you ever wondered what led a brilliant general like Friedrich Paulus, whom Hitler trusted to command the Sixth Army, to face the bitter defeat at Stalingrad? What lay behind his bold decisions and tragic fate? Military genius, blind loyalty to Nazi Germany, or the brutal pressure from a totalitarian regime? The life of Friedrich Paulus is not just the story of a famous general, but also a journey filled with tragedy and inner conflict. It is a story of misplaced trust, cold political calculations, and a man trapped between duty to his country and the brutality of the Nazi regime. Join History Journey as we uncover the dark secrets hidden behind the dust of history, where the pages of Paulus's life reveal haunting truths. Was he a victim of Hitler and the Nazi machinery, or the author of his own tragedy? Our journey will take you to unexplored corners where the pride of the Third Reich confronted harsh reality, and where absolute loyalty became the chains of fate. Childhood and education. Friedrich Wilhelm Ernst Paulus was born on September 23, 1890, in Breitenau, a small town in the state of Hesse, Germany. Born into a humble family, Paulus's father was a tax official, and his early life was quite simple. Despite not coming from a noble background or having a military tradition, Paulus showed an early interest in military life, which led him to pursue a career as a professional officer. After completing his secondary education, Paulus decided to join the military with the desire to serve his country. In 1910, Paulus joined the German army as an artillery officer in the 3rd Baden Infantry Regiment. His early career did not see major breakthroughs, but he quickly demonstrated dedication and discipline, drawing attention from his colleagues and superiors. Trained in a strict military environment, Paulus soon stood out for his organizational skills and strategic vision. Paulus, during the Weimar period, attitude towards the Weimar Republic and the rise of the Nazi Party. After World War I ended with Germany's bitter defeat, Friedrich Paulus remained steadfast in his military career, continuing to serve in the Weimar Republic's army, Reichswehr. He witnessed the fall of the German Empire and the birth of the Weimar Republic, a period marked by political chaos and an economy rocking like a boat in a storm. Paulus was not a fanatic supporter of this fragile republic, nor did he openly oppose it. Instead, he stood silently amidst the undercurrents, quietly waiting. Hope for Germany's return when Hitler came to power. Then came the 1930s, when Adolf Hitler and the Nazi Party rose like a whirlwind, sweeping away everything in their path, and Paulus did not stay on the sidelines. He quickly joined in, becoming part of Hitler's expanding machinery. With his exceptional organizational skills, Paulus was given the responsibility of rebuilding the German military, and under his leadership, the massive war machine was gradually revived, preparing for a new and brutal confrontation. But what truly motivated Paulus? Was it unwavering loyalty to the army he had dedicated his life to, or submission to authoritarian power from which he could not escape? Behind those resolute decisions and apparent obedience, was there a soul torn apart, conflicted between honor and duty, between loyalty and fear of a dark, uncertain future? Could he continue to live by the path he had chosen, or would he ultimately be consumed by the very brutal machine he helped? World War II, the rise and tragedy of Stalingrad. Paulus's role in Germany's initial campaigns. When World War II began, Friedrich Paulus quickly established himself as one of the most important strategists in the Nazi German military. As the chief of staff of the 4th Army under General Walter von Reichenau, he played a key role in planning and executing Germany's campaigns. Notably, the invasion of France in 1940 was a major turning point. The Blitzkrieg strategy, perfected by Paulus, effectively combined air power, armor, and infantry, leading to a swift and unexpected victory for Germany. By 1942, Paulus was promoted to commander of the 6th Army, tasked with capturing Stalingrad during Operation Barbarossa. Stalingrad was not just a strategic point, but also a symbol of pride for both sides. Hitler demanded that Paulus take the city at any cost, pushing him into a bloody and tragic battle. From a successful strategist, Paulus found himself in a treacherous situation where every decision was a life-and-death challenge. Commanding the Sixth Army at Stalingrad, the offensive, decision, and its consequences. Paulus ordered the Sixth Army to advance into Stalingrad, hoping to capture the city before winter set in 1942. But the battlefield of Stalingrad was not a place for simple and quick plans. The battle turned into a prolonged fight, and every meter of ground the Germans gained was paid for in blood. The brutal street fighting transformed Stalingrad into a deadly maze, where each house and building became a fortress for the Soviet Red Army. The fierce resistance of the Red Army and the courage of the people of Stalingrad presented Paulus with a tougher opponent than ever before. In this context, the harsh weather and lack of supplies began to wear down the German soldiers. Without enough food or water, and faced with the biting cold of the Russian winter, each soldier gradually fell into a state of physical and mental exhaustion. Despite the worsening situation, Paulus was forced to hold his position due to Hitler's orders. Hitler refused to allow a retreat, putting Paulus in an inescapable situation: fight to the last or face the siege and surrender, the tragedy of a general. In January 1943, after months of fighting under starvation, deprivation, and freezing conditions, Paulus's Sixth Army was completely encircled in Stalingrad. As each day passed, the hope of resupply or rescue grew ever slimmer. The German soldiers, once proud of their strength, had become emaciated, exhausted, and dispirited. Facing an utterly hopeless situation, Paulus realized that Hitler's insistence on holding out would only lead to death for his soldiers. Nevertheless, Hitler's order was clear: no surrender to the enemy. And so, on January 31st, 1943, with no way out and his soldiers entirely exhausted, Paulus had to make a decision he had never wanted to face. He ordered the surrender. This was not only the first time in World War II that a German general was captured along with his entire army, but it also shocked all of Germany. The defeat at Stalingrad marked not only the end of the dream of conquering the Soviet Union, but also a tremendous blow to the foundations of Nazi Germany, where their military pride was completely shattered. The tragedy of Friedrich Paulus became a stark reminder of the harshness and brutality of war, as well as a cautionary tale about the fateful decisions that changed an entire life and the history. Life after the war, from Soviet prisoner to witness against Hitler. After being captured at Stalingrad, Friedrich Paulus began a harsh journey in the Soviet Union, not only physically but also as an inner struggle with himself. Once a general in whom Hitler had placed complete trust, Paulus was now isolated, witnessing the terrible consequences that war had brought to Germany and its people. During his imprisonment, the Nazi ideals that had once motivated him began to fade. What caused this unwavering general to change? Was it fear or the painful awakening to what he had helped create? Paulus gradually became a prominent figure in the anti-Hitler movement among German prisoners of war in the Soviet Union. Not only did he change his own beliefs, but he also encouraged other prisoners to awaken and face the truth. But the most controversial decision Paulus made came in 1946 when he testified against Nazi generals at the Nuremberg trials. This caused many of his former colleagues to view him as a traitor, a stain that could not be washed away in the eyes of those who still believed in military duty and loyalty. Was Paulus truly a traitor? Or was this the only way he could reclaim the humanity that had been stripped away by the very war machine he served? For Paulus, testifying was a release, an effort to atone for the unforgivable mistakes of his past. He no longer simply opposed Hitler as an individual. He spoke out against the fascist ideology, the ideology that led Germany and himself down a path of destruction. However, this did not bring Paulus peace. After the war, his life was filled with contradictions and regrets. In 1953, Paulus was released and chose to settle in East Germany, where he could live in seclusion, far from the gaze of suspicion and criticism. In his final years, Paulus lived in heavy silence. He did not seek forgiveness from others, nor did he desire support. He faced his own pain and inner turmoil, leaving a large question mark in history.